Hello my lovely ravens, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chantel and today I'm going to make Mrs. Lovett's meat pies from the movie Sweeney Todd. Let's go. Let's bust out some supplies. I'll need polymer clay, chalk pastels, balsa wood and cardstock, a baking tray and tools. And gluing it to a piece of cardstock with wood glue to make it stronger. Sweeney Todd grossed over 150 million worldwide. The film was praised for the performances of the cast, musical numbers, costume and set design, and faithfulness to the 1979 musical. If you want to read more about the plot of the story, I will leave a link in the description down below. When this is dry, I cut around it with scissors and we have the base for the project, which is the wooden chopping board which can be seen in Mrs. Lovett's shop. I'm sanding down the edges and the corners to give it a more natural look. Helena Bonham Carter rehearsed her songs whilst practicing baking techniques in order to perfect the quick rhythm of the music. Let's move on to the rolling pin. I have this long dowel piece which I'm cutting down to 1 1/4 inch and sanding off the rough edges. For his audition, Sacha Baron Cohen sang the entire score of Fiddler on the Roof for director Tim Burton. Now I found this blue push pin in my stash and I thought it would make a great handle for the rolling pin. I could just push it into the side of the dowel. I wanted to look a bit more like a rolling pin, so from a sheet of regular printer paper I cut some strips and then wrapped them around the dowel piece until it's just slightly thicker than the push pins. In some of the scenes where Sweeney opens his razor very quickly, it is a mechanical razor. There is a button Johnny Depp would press to have the razor open, which he hides with his finger. Depp personally requested the prop department to design the razor for him, as he had difficulty handling the real razors. To prepare for his role, Johnny Depp had recorded demo tapes of himself in West Hollywood, working with old friend and music producer Bruce Whitkin to shape his own vocals without a voice coach. He also practiced singing the musical while filming Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End in 2007. Whilst that dries, let's go back to the chopping board and give it a wash of brown paint. I'm using Vallejo Model Wash in Oiled Earth. Of course, you can also use watered down acrylic paint. Helena Bonham Carter was pregnant throughout filming with her and Tim Burton's second child. Then I'm just sanding down the edges to make it look used. The rolling pin is now dry, so I can sand down the handles. Just by going over them with a nail file, I can give them a bit more of a rolling pin handle shape. To prepare for the role of Adolfo Pirelli, Sacha Baron Cohen hired his personal barber as a consultant on shaving techniques and took up to 16 hours to learn how to handle a razor. I'm going to cover the entire rolling pin with this brush-on primer. After that base coat, I'm going over it with sand and cream color to make it look more like an actual rolling pin. Jane Weisner was 19 years old at the time of filming. The filmmakers refused her because they thought Weisner was too mature for portraying the 15-year-old Johanna. The actress sent some pictures of herself without makeup and then they cast her. To make it look old and used, I put a dark wash on and wipe off the excess. Johnny Depp said in an interview that he considers his Sweeney Todd character to be like a long-lost relative to Edward Scissorhands, who he also played in the title character. Moving on to some plates and bowls. From white polymer clay that I rolled out with a pasta machine, I cut a large and a small circle with circle cutters. I then press the small circle on the large one. This will be the base of the plate. I press the plate bottom down onto an empty washi tape roll so the edges stand up. This whole thing goes in the oven to set the clay. At the end of the song A Little Priest, Sweeney Todd and Mrs. Lovett strike the same pose as the promotional material used for the original Broadway production of the musical. Anne Hathaway was almost cast as Joanna, but Tim Burton wanted a complete unknown actress for the role and settled with Jane Weisner. Hathaway would appear in Tim Burton's next film, Alice in Wonderland. Then for some bowls, these can be made on large marbles. Cut out a circle and put that onto the marble. You can stand the marble onto an empty washi tape roll and that goes in the oven to set the bowl. The pies, or rather some of them, were actually edible. Some were made of fiber, others were made of rubber. In fact, the pies in the beginning of the film were also edible and, according to Edward Sanders, who plays Toby, even though they looked gross, they tasted okay. For the blob of pastry, I'm taking this tan color of polymer clay and press it into shape on a glass plate. I like to bake small miniature items on these glass plates in an oven dish. I get rid of fingerprints with cornstarch, which also happens to look like flour. For the actual meat pies, I made a little bowl, took the back of my X-Acto knife with cornstarch and pushed it into the bowl to make the cup of the meat pie. The cornstarch acts as a release agent. I used chalk pastels to color the meat pies, and this will give it the most natural look. And then I also had to make some finished meat pies. The address on Mrs. Lovett's shop, number 186, is a reference to the London legend of Sweeney Todd, which placed his barbershop at this very address. This goop is a liquid Sculpey mixed with brown Sculpey. It needs to be darker for the meat goop, so I'm adding some chalk pastels. I then add this to the open meat pies and later also to one of the bowls. For the flour that I want to add to the chopping board, I've placed the glass plate in between the chopping board and the liquid Sculpey, so I know how large the area is I have to work with. Before baking, I put the cornstarch on the liquid Sculpey. 5 Harry Potter franchise alumni appear in this film: Helena Bonham Carter, Alan Rickman, Timothy Spall, Jamie Campbell Bower, and Johnny Depp. And here is my baked blob of dough and flour. For the bowl of meat goop, I fill up the base with polymer clay and then put the meat goop on top of that, and add a piece of toothpick for a spoon and put it in the oven one more time. Imelda Staunton was considered for the role of Mrs. Lovett, but lost out to Helena Bonham Carter. She would go on to play Mrs. Lovett in the West End production of Sweeney Todd in 2012, alongside Michael Ball as Sweeney Todd. Of course, the cornstarch came right off, so I added some model snow with PVA glue, and that seemed to do the trick. This is the second of 3 Tim Burton films not to be scored by Danny Elfman. The first was Ed Wood in 1994, and the third is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, 2016. After baking the goop in the bowl, I added some gloss varnish to it, and to the meat pies as well. Let's put it all together to see the final result. And this is it for this video. I hope you like the new branding and the start of a new video series. All my social media can be found in the description box below, and if you're new here, welcome. Don't forget to hit that subscribe and bell notification button so you don't miss out on any future videos, and of course, become part of the Raven family. Thanks so much for watching, stay safe, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.